This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bornini, and these are your headlines. An organ harvesting gang is jailed. A forest seems to magically disappear and nobody notices. And if you live in Phnom Penh, the question on everyone's lips is why the water shortage? But first, our headline story. A Vietnamese court has jailed 8 people for sending 37 of their nationals to Cambodia to sell their kidneys. This bust is the biggest of its kind, and this criminal ring has been going on for an awful long time, with scores of people travelling to the kingdom to have their kidneys removed. Most of them compelled to do so as their financial situations leave them with very little choice, as they are burdened by crippling debt. But I think what will amaze you is the way this ring attracted new clients. They had a Facebook page called Kidney Donation Group. And as to how Facebook allowed this to happen is also a complete mystery.
A court in Ho Chi Minh City has handed prison terms to 8 people involved in a kidney trading ring that sent 37 Vietnamese to Cambodia as organ donors. Each of the 8 defendants got between 10 and 16 years in jail for the charge of trading human body parts. They all worked as brokers for the kidney trading ring, the largest ever that Vietnamese police have busted. But quite incredibly, the ringleader himself, a Mr. Huen, who was only 46 years old, died of kidney failure during the investigation. At the heart of it all was a Singaporean doctor who was working at a hospital in Phnom Penh. That doctor told Mr. Huen to find people that wanted to sell their kidneys and to bring them to Cambodia for the surgery. And for every kidney transplanted, Huen would receive $3,000. Those that successfully came to Cambodia to sell their kidneys then returned to Vietnam and introduced more candidates to Mr. Huen. The gang prospered with some help of their Facebook group, which was named Kidney Donation Group. And with such a clever disguise in the name, is it any wonder that Facebook completely failed to spot them? Candidates were tested prior to being sent to the doctor in Phnom Penh, and when the doctor found a match, Huen took the kidney sellers to Cambodia for surgery. And between 2017 and 2019, Huen's ring had attracted 100 kidney sellers and sent 37 of them to Cambodia for transplant surgery. The story is less of greed by some huge mafia gang. It is in fact a tale of poverty. People that are desperate, that their last resort was to sell one of their own organs. And of course, it's a tale of Facebook, and yet another long list of cases that finds them woeful in policing their own site.
When I saw this next story come across my desk, I let out a gasp of exclamation. And I very much feel it will amaze and outrage you in equal quantities, for quite incredibly, an entire forest has disappeared. Now, you may be thinking of something the size of a medium woodland or similar. But no, you need to think a lot bigger. I am talking 56 hectares of trees have literally disappeared, and it was all carted off without anyone noticing. Now, you may not be up to speed on how big a hectare is, so have a look at your screen as I have converted it to feet so you can grasp the enormity of this theft. For 56 hectares is over 6,027,000 square feet of forest that has been stolen. And it is this kind of crime that is devastating the country's ecosystem, for it is not just the trees that have gone, but also the habitat for tens of thousands of wild animals. Many would have died, as yet another forest has been raped of its resources, all in the name of greed.
More than 56 hectares of forest land in what was a special economic project that was a combination of both rare old forest and newly planted pine trees was completely cleared by unknown people. As to how these people can remove 6 million feet of trees and nobody notices could in fact be the biggest mystery of this story. But their crime had 2 layers to it. Firstly, to cart off the timber so they may sell it, and then secondly, to fence off the deforested area so they could claim ownership of it. The devastated area has been inspected by the joint authorities of Mondulkiri province. The inspection was led by the deputy prosecutor, and he said that after receiving information from residents due to illegal logging activities, the specialised forces visited the crime scene and found more than 56 hectares of old and new forest land that had been cleared and burned. But there was no people or no machinery found at the scene. The district authority says it is closely cooperating with provincial forestry administration officials to search for those involved, especially individuals who dare to engage in illegal forest clearing. Well, they certainly did dare. They dared with the use of loud chainsaws and a fleet of trucks and a huge labour force, and through their daring, they successfully destroyed ancient trees, and in doing so killed many wild animals that used to call that forest their home.
A few weeks ago I said hip hip hooray when ending a report that the Mekong dolphins were to be given a lifeline to save them from extinction. The report told of how fishermen had been cleared from the dolphin sanctuary and how the dolphins themselves could now live free of nets. Well, I spoke too soon. The dolphins are still under threat, and more worryingly, they are still dying. This week, yet another dolphin died in an illegal fishing nets. And it seems this tragedy is playing out in slow motion, one dolphin death at a time. Each death is one more step closer to their eradication. Yet more nets are being placed, and each net is another nail in the coffin for the Mekong dolphin as they edge their way to extinction. And soon enough, the dolphins of the Mekong will be nothing more than a distant memory.
A dolphin was found dead, caught up in fishing nets in Stung Treng province. This death has caused much concern and worry as to how effective this new dolphin sanctuary actually is, as yet again widespread netting is killing off the endangered dolphins of Cambodia. According to the Cambodian WWF director, extra measures are needed to protect dolphins in Stung Treng and Karachi provinces. After the dolphin death, he said, more river patrols are needed in the protected area, as is specified in the new sub-decree that is meant to protect the dolphins of the Mekong. He also noted that there are currently 72 river guards in 16 sites along the protective area, and they are supposed to patrol 24 hours a day to protect these dolphins. He also added, we have to make sure that there is zero net laying. There is a lack of human resources, and more guards are needed to achieve the goal. The officials have to give more training to those guards patrolling the area, as some lack the knowledge to protect the dolphins. The officials also have to educate the fishing community itself, as the local community only think about fishing for their livelihood. They do not think about the dolphins' preservation. Well, the fishermen may well be thinking of fish, and there may well be calls for more patrols and better education and diverse work for the locals. But the truth is, only one thing now counts. Those nets must be taken out the water now, or ain't nobody going to have to worry about fish, jobs, patrols, or anything else, as there will be no more dolphins left. They would have all been killed. And at that point, you can fill the river with as many nets as you like, because ain't nobody ever gonna catch another dolphin ever again, for they will all be dead.
I myself have lived in Cambodia for 15 years, and my goodness, have I seen some changes. When I arrived at customs, it was little more than a man behind a desk in a plastic chair, and seeing a car on the streets was really quite the novelty. But now, as the modern city of Phnom Penh expands at a breathtaking rate, the problems faced are not that of a third world country, but of a first world one. And one of the top priorities is to get good, clean water to the residents. Well, of late, that has turned out to be a bit of a struggle, with many areas going dry and having to source water from other locations. And this, understandably, has left many a resident exasperated. But I'm pleased to say that this tale does end with a happy ending.
Residents of many suburbs in Phnom Penh have been facing water shortages this week due to an insufficient supply. And the reason is due to an excessively high demand in some areas. Now, the water shortage has been going on for many weeks, and this has left residents in some areas rather exasperated at the situation, for it seems to show little sign of improvement. Now, there is a long list of suburbs affected, so allow me to quickly read through them, only to give you a very clear idea as to the scope of this problem. They are Svai Pak, Kok Roka, Krang Tong, Samrong Krom, Schnorr, Pong Leng Che Rots, Pong Tok, Kon Tok, Kambol, Chom Chow, Kok Pap, Prey Vang, Prey Sra, Stong Menche, Prek Kampos, Prek Ho, Svol Rolem, Prek Tem, and Kabal Ko. Now, I realise that I may have mutilated a few of those names, but that's not the point. The point is that very clearly shows how far this problem has now reached. A district governor has stepped forward, and he has said that district authorities have been distributing water for 2 months now. And he also said, "We are concerned about this water shortage, and we are trying to do all we can to help the people." And the Phnom Penh Water Authority has also issued a statement saying that the water shortage is due to demand of water increasing by more than 890,000 cubic meters every single day. So just think about that. That's nearly 1 million cubic meters of water every day. And their problem, they say, is that they can only produce about 640,000 cubic meters. Well, that leaves a shortage of nearly 250,000. But there is hope on the horizon, because not too far away, at the beginning of May, a new water treatment plant will produce an extra 200,000 cubic meters of clean water every single day. And that, thank goodness, will alleviate this problem.
Let us end this week by looking forward to something so much brighter, and that is a more sustainable future, as Singapore's energy markets have now given a conditional nod to an exciting new project to import 1 gigawatt of clean energy from Cambodia. Now, that sounds great, doesn't it? But let's be truthful, you have no idea as to what 1 gigawatt can do, so allow me to bring it into focus for you as to how good this is. 1 solitary gigawatt of this clean energy is equal to 18 billion pounds of coal. Yes, I said 18 billion as in with a B. It's enough energy for 750,000 homes to be supplied. And that is a whole load of green energy power that is saving on enormous amounts of carbon emissions. And if that's not enough, this could lead to so much more.
The Energy Market Authority of Singapore has granted conditional approval for the transfer of 1 gigawatt of clean energy from Cambodia to Singapore as part of the ongoing energy import strategy. The approval was granted to Khmer Energy, the Singaporean energy conglomerate, and builds on an agreement signed between the two countries last year on energy cooperation. The imported energy will prioritise solar power as well as hydropower and the potential for wind-generated power, and be supported by battery energy storage systems. It will be transported to Singapore via a 1,000-kilometre subsea cable. And Singapore plans to import 4 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2035. And that, as an equivalent, would be 72 billion pounds of coal that need not be burnt. And this is truly cutting-edge stuff, and the potential is vast. For Cambodia is drenched in sun for most of the year, and exporting sunshine in the form of solar energy could be a huge advancement, not only for the country's ever-increasing need for electricity, but also as a valuable revenue source.
And now it's time to look at our sports news.
This week it's the Euro qualifiers we're focusing on, and we've got 3 screens to get through, so let's get our canter on. Not an awful lot to note on screen 1, apart from England beat Italy 2-1. Totally unfair if your surname is Benini, such as mine. So now on to screen 2. Wales, Croatia, 1 apiece. Spain beat Norway, no surprise there. Iceland, woohoo! 7 against Liechtenstein, but they wouldn't have won if it was Scrabble, that's for sure. And on to our final screen, and what do we have here? We have Scotland beating Cyprus 3-0. Belarus went down 5-0 to Switzerland, and the jolly old Dutch took a thumping. France beat them 4-0.
It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week.
Here is that weather, and it's a mixture of cloud and of sunshine, but it is deceptive because, as you've noticed, those temperatures are rising. It is getting hotter and hotter as it seems we move closer to the sun. So be warned, it's going to rise into the 30s and potentially the mid-30s this week. And some say there's even a threat of rain over the weekend.
This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini. And that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly roundup.